Let's talk about phoneme segmentation. PSF is phoneme segmentation fluency, and this is just how we measure students' ability to segment the sounds that they say. The students will not be using a book for this one. This is a listening assessment only. You will say the word, like the word here is same. You would say same, and the student is going to tell you the sounds they hear. S, a, m. At least that is our hope. At the top, you see a 3-second counter. Just like in other assessments, we give them 3 seconds to give a response before we move on. Here is your counter. This is your back arrow if you need to go back because you went through too quickly, or you need to mark something the student did previous one. That would be this one. If you need to go back and mark something from a previous one, this will take you back to the beginning of the assessment, take you out of it. So let's see. Let's look. This is what it's going to look like when you're scoring it. If a student says a correct word, a correct sound, all you're going to do is tap the box under what the student says. If the student says a sound and it's not a correct sound, you're going to tap you're going to tap under it and tap the letter to show that it was incorrect. Let's look at a few of the common scoring guidelines. If the student says a sound and it's the wrong sound, you will tap it to show that it's incorrect. But if they fix their problem within 3 seconds, you'll tap it again to make the letter turn green to show that it was a self-correction. Again, be careful of articulation or dialect issues. For example, some students have trouble with W and L sounds. They have trouble with S sounds. So if you know a student has speech issues and they are doing their very best to say the sound, count it based on what you know about their speech patterns. Also, consider dialect, especially with our ESL students in this area. Hesitation rule. After 3 seconds, if they have not said the next sound, go ahead and say the next word. You do not have to tap anything, just keep going. Discontinue. If the student does not say any correct segments in the first 5 words, the device will ask you if you would like to discontinue, and you may. So let's look at some examples. The word is sack. Remember, we always say whatever Mr. Say, that's this little guy here. Whatever he says, that is what we say. We would say the word sack. The student says s. We would only mark underneath, just a tap underneath the s. If the student says sack, then we would tap under the s, under the a, and under the k before moving on to the next word. If we say sack, the student says z-ack. We would tap under the S, under the A, under the K, but then we would tap the actual S to make that area turn red to show that they have used the wrong sound. Student says sock, s-ack. Again, tap under each sound to show that they did say 3 sounds. So there should be 3 marks, but that middle sound was incorrect, so we would tap it to make it turn red. Sometimes students go through this quickly. They're not segmenting slowly enough. So make sure when you do the example at the beginning, you are modeling that you're doing it slowly. You don't say I'm doing this slowly, but when you do it slowly. And when you're not sure if they're just running all the sounds together or if they're actually segmenting them, sometimes it helps to actually watch their lips. That may give you a clue as if what they're doing. Now let's say the student says sack. They only said 2 sounds, so there's 2 marks. The first sound included s and a, so we draw a line. We tap under the S and hold our finger to draw the line under the a as well. And then we have a k sound, 2 separate sounds. So they got 2 out of 3. If the student says s-ack, mark exactly what they said. They did the sound twice, and then we did ack as 1. So we're just going to draw a line. Sometimes students don't hear beginning or ending, middle or ending sounds. So in those cases, you just mark exactly what they say. Student says k, we mark s, we mark k. They didn't say they didn't substitute, so we're just leaving this one blank. If the student just says s, then doesn't say anything else, or says or I don't know, just mark the s that they said and continue on to the next word. Sometimes students will add sounds in. If the added sound is within this middle of the word, this is how it would work. If they say gl, the word is got. They say gl as one sound. You're going to mark that they said one sound, gl, t. Mark the mark the t. But then you're going to mark the g incorrect because the gl was the first sound they said. Now, if they segment that ul sound out and they say g, ul, t, we don't have anywhere to mark a fourth sound in this word. So in that case, we are only going to mark the sounds that are present on the screen that we heard. G, t. There's nowhere to mark the ul, so we're just going to disregard it. However, if this seems to be happening a lot throughout the assessment, you may want to make a note at the end in the notes section. If the word is sheep and you say sheep, the student looks at you and says sheep. You're just going to draw one line under the whole word to show that they said sheep. I've had this happen a lot with my first graders. Sometimes they'll even go sheep. So I would mark it one time for the sh and then draw a line under all three for sheep. You say sheep, the student says steep. Well, you underline that they said the whole word, but then you mark the part of the word that they did not say correctly. This is a pronunciation guide. This to show the scoring rules. For R-controlled vowels, sounds are scored as a single phoneme. So with star, R would be scored as one sound. With shirt, the is scored as one sound. With force, the or is scored as one sound. Now, a student that knows how to spell star may say because they're trying to tell you all the sounds that are in those letters, in that word, but we're looking for the sounds they hear when you say the word. Words with air, ear, and our sounds are scored with two phonemes. Pair, p, Hear, and tour, t, Digraph, ing, is a single phoneme, s, ing. This is kind of difficult for them, although in first grade and kindergarten now, that we're using Letterland, we teach that ng sound. We don't just teach ing and ang, we teach that ng together. Box, the X, should be two phonemes, k, s. And in queen, the QU is going to be two phonemes, k, w. Because if you listen to it, that's actually what you hear. K, w, e, n. Here's a quick reference. The word is trip. Student says t, ip. You score every sound you heard. It is correct. The word is trip. Student says trips. You score every sound you heard. However, there is nowhere to score that fourth sound, so we just disregard it. T, ips. They put the PS together as one sound, so we would count the t, I correct. We would mark the p as being said, but then we would mark it incorrect because they put the P and the S together, and there's not supposed to be an S. Star, if they do a th sound instead of the s, and you know it's an articulation issue, then you would count it correct. Fox, they say fox. we're looking for fox. So you would draw a line from the K to the S to show that they put the K and the S together. If the student says bit, or you say bit, the student says it. You would draw one line under bi, one tap one time under I to show that they said I, and then you would draw another line under it to show that they put the I and the T together. This is an overlapping segmentation. If you say red and they don't say all the sounds, duh, you just mark the sounds that they did say. If they only say the beginning sound, just mark the beginning sound. If a student spells the word, one time you may remind them, say the sounds in the word. After this reminder, we will just assume that they don't know the difference between the sound and the name of the word or the name of the letter. If the student repeats the word, one time you can say, remember to say all the sounds in the word. After that, if they keep repeating, you just accept it and mark what they say. If you would like to practice doing this, you can go to mclasshome.com and log in and go to training. And on training, there is a Dibbles Next online scoring practice video, which is this. And you can go to the audio section and you can practice scoring on your class, not your, what's it called? On your demo class on your device. And it will even give you a breakdown afterwards. After you've scored, you can compare your scoring to how they scored it to see if you are scoring correctly. Now, we all make mistakes. Sometimes it goes too fast. But if your score is within a couple points of their score, then you know that you're doing pretty well. Remember to underline everything the student says to create a precise visual record. So if the word's cat, they say cat, you're going to mark every sound. If the word's cat and they say kt, you're just going to mark under the k and the t. If the phoneme is produced incorrectly, underline the phoneme, but then tap it to show there's an error. And then as soon as the student is finished, go ahead and say the next word to keep it moving.